If you become dense enough, ostensibly would be equivalent to enough energy packed inside of a star exploding, well, you would then become a black hole. That's a Schwarzschild radius. If you travel as fast as you can and as quick as possible, what your body would be doing is a Lorentz contraction. Now, your body wouldn't be squeezed, but people would be seeing your body being squeezed. And this is holographically diamond in the rough. Whereas a projection and a hologram, your body could be as flat as a pancake or as thin as spaghetti, as thin as a spaghettification. And the splitting image, where to you your body would seem perfectly normal, savvy, big tech sense, it's important to question our most basic constituents, things that we should be most fond of: nature and life and nature. And it begs the question, how outdoors is outdoors when understanding how much life is life in living? As of now, there's a thing running rampant and no one knows if it's alive or not, an inanimate object or a being of being. So if you can mimic the fabric by faking what light interacts with, you have ostensibly obtained the key to anything in ordering the amount of time anyone has. Well, that was just one aspect in the material sense, with the material fabrics is the giant of the eugenics, but we're trying to compute that as accurately as possible, and in order to do so, you need to invocate binary. And how to invocate binary in its most literal sense is through electromagnetic spectrums. And in electromagnetic spectrums, light is what drives it and derives it. Photons are what derive packets of the electromagnetic spectrum, and in coding, they're used to do so in their molecular structures as well. I think the crossover leap from the industrial era into the big tech mecca, the utopia, would be as closely knitting the fabric of material into a binary code. One that strive to achieve the quantum computation without the computer. When it comes to absorbing and emitting is what excites the reverberance, and in the reverberance is how the springs interact before breaking upon the Hooke's laws. How fertile are strongholds, and at what point is deducting reasoning obstructing withstanding? And if you control time, you can make the most crazy beliefs seem plausible. The most craziest thing I could think up of is if there was a consensus that your skin was not your exterior, or that the bones would be outside about the skin, and the guts of their interior would be everywhere at once. They're not in specific locations. What's the number one thing you would want to control in order to have total control? Time, of course. The third dimension. And in Mortal Kombat, that's what the master of the entire universe, Shang Tsung, he defeats Earthrealm, which is the only threat preventing him from achieving the crown of time, the Kronika's time of crown. And he doesn't even know that there's one until he battles Earthrealm. I think that's how it surfaces. Yeah, because the protector of Earthrealm is Raiden, and then through Raiden cheating, and because Shang Tsung's army of the Netherrealm was so strong that they overtook Earthrealm, like with Shang Tsung's general Shao Kahn. Raiden had to cheat and reverse time, so then that exposed the crown of Kronika, which was the keeper of time, and she has been manipulating time ever since. And then Shang Tsung gets to defeat Earthrealm one time, and he finds the crown, and now he controls time. So thank God that Earthrealm isn't defeated yet, and the crown isn't presented of controlling of time, because then you would be able to control the particle zoo and the virtual particles. But lo and behold, it has to be the underpinning, where if you have an engine that breaks because you were going 60 and it suddenly shot down to 40 and was spewing out white fumes everywhere, and then right before that happened, you very well may had put in a whole bunch of oil to try and cool it down. Well, that oil has now flooded everything and is making for the forensic analysis of the engine what went wrong almost impossible to find. This may be the case with how you underpin and unwrap a satellite dish within this radiation spectroscopy. Improper usages is something that cannot be undermined, when it has to be infinity clear so no one's feelings get hurt. If you look at a seashell, you can look inside of it, and how well it's been tumbled is almost iconic to how well a pearl is when it comes to the topaz on it, or the halation about its surface. If the same could be said for a satellite dish, where how much radiation streams have been bounced off of it could be read. It's not something that you see initially as great as the seashell surface would look if it had been tumbled X amount of times. Almost like a tree ring, how it's been aged, you can count them. Well, if the seashell's been tumbled with so much PSI pressure, you should be able to count that just as easy as tree rings do. But it's harder than that, and what would be even harder than that would be reading how many streams radiated off a satellite dish. So there's the 3 tiers of expertise, all of which need accounted for as easily as counting the tree rings. And eugenics is kind of like what the industrial era did to the craftsmanship, where all the craftsmanship when things were made by hand with the shoe cobblers all got undermined in the industrial era. And as much as the United States benefited from that with commercial value and bulk by and large, it's now the underpinning of what's going to throw out something more important than craftsmanship is humanity in general. And this is going to be undermined through virtual. And have the most horrific circumstances is if you get chips that are aerosolized and sprayed on food. You might think that this is somewhat futuristic, and I'm here to tell you that it is. Luckily, there's things more futuristic than that. Dark energy and dark matter. And the fact that these are plentiful in comparison to what a microchip is, it means it can be overridden, and maybe even doubled in overriding if a microchip's trying to do something that it shouldn't be. And you're thinking, well, who says what a microchip's supposed to be doing? No one does. It's just you can belittle a microchip the more that you look at it being insignificant. Just as the Titanic did go down with the water, You're supposed to look at a microchip and understand its basis for its location and undermine it from there. Things like a modification of a vehicle when it's trying to go from electric to gas by taking a switch and making it turn off and on. Congratulations.